Hello, it's me. This is another update on the SM engine. I'm going to put this down because I'm holding it. You'll see what that is in a minute. So the last video you saw of me working on this engine, as it is, well, it was basically, was it a cliffhanger? Possibly a bit of a cliffhanger. I mean, there might be some people who feel a little bit upset that I kind of ended it on a... I will lose sleep over that. Got to the end of the last video and put the leak down tester on the car. I don't know where that's gone. No, it's down there. Put the leak down tester on it. Just in a kind of a quick... well, basically, to do a proper leak down test, you rotate the engine, you bring the pistons up to TDC. So they're on the compression stroke. So the valves are both shut and the pistons come up. And it's basically, it's created the combustion chamber. Because if you think about it, if a piston's down there, there isn't really a combustion chamber. It's just part of the cylinder. But so it's created the combustion chamber. It's all the way up. The valves are shut. And then you put the leak down tester on it. You allow the air into it. And you see how much you're leaking. That's the proper way of doing it. I wasn't doing that. I was literally just making sure the valves were shut. I didn't know where the piston was on the cycle. It was basically just to see if I have 100% leakage, because if I had 100% leakage, basically of all the air that was going into the piston, 100% of it was coming straight back out, or air that was going into the cylinder, I should say, 100% of it was coming straight back out. That would indicate a very bad problem. Well, on something like this, it could mean that the valves, the exhaust valves, have broken, and the head of the valve has dropped into the piston, and the pistons come up at some point in the past. At some point in the past, we're talking like back in the 90s, the piston would have come up, hit it, and shattered the piston, and created a hole in it, and damaged the head, and caused all merry hell in an engine, basically, that is made of very expensive parts. So my concern was that I was going to have maximum leakage in one of the 6, in this V6 engine. One of the 6 might have full leakage of 100%. When I was doing the test, I was rushing it, because as I'm doing with any, I mean, like you'll notice with these, half of these videos are vlogs. They're kind of like, it's more like diary updates and a little bit of working. This is not wheeler dealers. You are not going to see a car get restored in like, you know, half an hour. That's just bollocks. This is real life. And I'm running my own garage. I've been working on cars all day. Today I've been working on a TVR M series, a Mazda 3, and a TVR S1. So there you go. I've been working on those today. And it's now 7:10, and I've just picked the camera up to have a look at this. I'm not going to keep working. I have a home. I have a life. I have food I need to eat. So yeah, these videos are not like that. This is a long haul thing. So, and I think the roughly 5,000 or so who watch these videos each time, I think they know that. So if you do, well done. You're on board. You're with me. So yeah, if you want in the fast track, unrealistic car SOS, although there's no sob story in this one, is there? But if you want in something like that, then look elsewhere, because you're not going to get it here. This is me thinking and then doing, and then stopping to think and then do, and stopping to think and then do. So, but this is the catch up. And so basically, I am going to do some more work on this later in this video. It won't be today, because today it's, as I say, 7:10. I need to go home. But I am going to do a bit more work later in this video. I'm going to take one of the big end caps off and have a look and see what that's like. I should get back to the point. And I keep standing on something that's really bugging me. So the point was, I was worried that one of the valve heads had broken off, fallen down into the piston. And then the piston had come up on it and bang, lots of problems, and it's all horrible. The reason I'm worried about that, for those who don't know, most of you probably do, but for those who don't, these engines have sodium-filled exhaust valves. I don't know if the inlet valves might be. I don't suppose they are. I wouldn't think they need to be, but the exhaust valves are sodium-filled. So basically, that means they're hollow. The valve itself, the stem of it, is hollow, and it's literally full of salt. And you're thinking, why? Well, the reason is because when it gets to a certain temperature, that liquefies. It stops being a solid and it starts being a liquid, and it acts as a coolant. So that's why they do it. It cools the stem of the valve, stops it expanding too much and eating the valve guides. The downside of this is the valves are hollow, and they're normally filled, like packed with sodium. So there's almost like a pressure of it in there. So it kind of helps reinforce the valve. But what happens over time is the valves, which are not stainless steel, they're mild steel, they corrode. And that means that you're getting rust around the outside of the body of the valve, which is eating away at it. So the valve's getting thinner and thinner and thinner. But remember, it's hollow, which basically means you have a pipe, which is getting thinner and thinner and thinner until eventually, obviously, it's not strong enough. I am going to take these valves out of this engine. They will need to be changed. And I'm going to take some of them, I'm going to test them. I'm going to see if I can break the end off. There was a story I was told about DS engines. The DS23 EFI also uses sodium exhaust valves, sodium filled exhaust valves, as does the BX16 valve, I believe. But that isn't an issue on those. I'm guessing they're stainless as well. No, on the DS, the fella, apparently, this is a story I got told, guy drove into a garage with a DS23 EFI. It had a head gasket fault or something. The head got taken off. He literally drove in while this other chap who was telling me the story was there talking to them with a cup of coffee. And to be fair, I can imagine he was there talking for a very long time. He makes me look like a mute. And yeah, in the time he was in there drinking coffee and everything, the mechanic has got the head off. Because there's only an overhead valve engine, it's not that hard to get the head off. So the mechanic's got the head off this DS. And he's got the valves lined up on the table. And man in question turns around, knocks into the table by accident. One of the valves falls over and snaps in half. That car drove in. It literally drove in, like not an hour before. So it like people say like, oh, is it really that big a deal? Yeah, no, it is a big deal. Because on this engine, if any of those valve heads drop off, and they are big valves, because it's only a 12 valve engine, so 2 big valves per cylinder. One of them drops off and that piston comes up. There's talk of bits of engine coming out the side of the block, like literally creating holes on the outside. I mean, that seems extreme, but it's possible. The risk that this thing had no compression in it was real. Because if any of those valves, and I couldn't see if they had, I had no way of knowing if they had, because if I took the rocker covers off, the valve springs are still there, the buckets are still there, they're covering the top of the valve, you can't see anything, and there would be a collet holding the spring in, and the stem probably wouldn't go back up through the guide anyway, so from the top everything would look absolutely fine. So I wouldn't know necessarily if there was a bit of valve head embedded in a piston, because it's possible the piston would still be travelling up and down. So I didn't know, basically. Long and short of it is, I didn't know. And the only way I was going to find out is either by doing a compression test or a leak down test. A compression test is when you put the pipe into the spark plug hole and crank the engine. And then you measure the compression that the engine is creating, or the system that each cylinder is creating one by one. That is a bad idea with this engine. That's why I haven't put the start motor on this block and tried to crank it over, because of those valves. That's the whole thing. First thing anyone ever says about one of these engines, if it hasn't run for a long time and it's got the original valves in it, do not start it. For the love of God, don't start it. Because if you do, that's when the valves break. This thing has potentially not run since like 1990 something, early 1990s. So yeah, definitely do not try starting it. I think there's a chance that people at the scrapyard at Brims in Ohio, possibly the guy who imported it, or the guy that I bought it off up in Lincoln somewhere, there is a chance that any one of those could have tried to start this engine. Someone was saying, one of them said, I think the guy I got it off said the engine wouldn't turn over. Well, I have a feeling that it's either got a dicky inhibitor switch or a dicky start motor. And if it has, whichever one of those has failed, has saved that engine, because if they were working and it did crank, this valve would have dropped off. So cut to the bloody chase, because I'm waffling. Yeah, I put on the leak down tester and I saw the results and I went, hang on, and then I ended the video. Well, the video had got too long at that point anyway, so I was going to do that. But what did I find is what you want to know. So basically what I decided there and then was to go home and then come back, and when I actually had time to rotate the engine properly and get TDC on each cylinder and measure it properly and lock it and stop it rotating when you put the air in it and everything, which is a good sign because it means there's compression, I would come back and I'd measure it properly and I wouldn't film it. I just need time. I need to just focus, make sure I'm not doing anything wrong. Because what I was seeing at the time was alarming. It was like 95% losses or something like that. Well, as it turns out, it's because I was rushing it. So I have in my little SM diary That sounds dodgy. I have the actual results. Round 2, but actually at TDC. In fact, no, I haven't, because I've only written down one bank. Oh, right, no, yeah, so I've done that because on the other bank, I didn't see any problems. So the bank that I thought had issues was cylinder 1, 2, and 3. The actual results were 57%, 50%, and 70% loss. Now that sounds bad, but it's not, it's good. And you're going to be looking at me going, what? How is that good? Like, a proper race engine would be like 4 or 5% loss, or maybe 10 at an absolute stretch. 20 is generally like, yeah, that engine's healthy. Because you're always going to lose a little bit of something, aren't you? No, I don't think that's bad. Because if it was 100%, it would be bad. But the worst is 70. That, to me, suggests that the valve is still shut. It's possible that the valve has been parked open and it's rusted around the seat. So it's not actually sealing fully. And also, it suggests there's a potential that, I've got different stages, different scales of how bad this could be. The worst case scenario is that the bores are knackered, they're worn, which I've ordered I haven't ordered it yet. I'm going to order one of those boroscope things to measure the bores when I've taken the heads off. So there's a chance the bores are worn, and it is a 90-degree V6, so they do tend to wear quite unevenly in the middle. But it is possible that it's just that the piston rings are gummed up, because the oil that's come out of it is, we'll clean the sump out later on in this video, see what's in the sump. No real metal so far, but yeah, it's possible that the piston rings are just sludged up and gummed up, and of course if they are, they're not going to seal properly. So the pistons need to come out and it needs new rings, basically. That's a given, and probably the bores honing at the minimum. But if the bores are worn, then they might need replacing, and that starts to get quite bad. Not broken valve bad, but not good. So those are the two possibilities for that. And then the other elephant in the room, which is something unrelated, is what are the bearings on the crankshaft like? It was full of oil. I'd be pretty unlucky if this thing had a crankshaft issue, but that's another thing I have to eliminate. I have to check the crankshaft, check the big ends, check the mains, make sure all the bearing surfaces are good. Clean it all up, get some of that engineer's blue, wrap that, basically like a blue putty that you put on the bearing, and then bolt it all back down and turn it over and take it back out. And if there's any areas of blue left, it means you've got a low spot. So it basically shows where you've got excess wear on a crank or on a bearing or something like that. That's basically where I'm at the moment. I know that the valves aren't broken now because I've removed the manifolds. Didn't film this. That was a pig. And this is a funny old thing here, look, because I had to break off that pipe that went across the top because I couldn't get to the fixings. But look at that. So those pipes, that pipe there that had that air injection thing, it basically purged or pumped oxygen through these holes directly into the ports, which you can't even see because it's a 90-degree engine. But yeah, it directly pumped oxygen into the exhaust ports. It's something. This chamber is something to do with the temperature and the oxygen mixing, or something. I don't know. It's all going in the bin, so it doesn't matter. But and in taking these off, I've been able to see the valves. So I know the valves aren't broken. I decided to get in there and just have a look. Just to get medieval with the manifolds, because I thought I just need to have a look there. So the valves are not broken. So far, all the things that I was told by I got a lot of naysayers when I got this. People saying, oh, that would be terrible. Oh, it would be broken, blah, blah, blah. They said the tensioners would be in bits in the sump. They're not. They said the cam chains wouldn't be connected or something, and they wouldn't be turning properly. They're not. And they also told me that the valves would probably be broken, and they aren't. So everything is in one piece. So now I'm basically at the position where I have to eliminate knackered bores, knackered liners in the block, and prove, hopefully, that it's just gummy piston rings causing a little bit too much blow by. It should be like 40% really, 40-50% max, absolute max, for a sort of used engine like this. And I could live with that. I could run it like that. It wouldn't be a problem. Even if like 5 years down the line I had to do something with it. Just give me 5 years of running. But yeah, I don't know. There's a possibility that it is just the piston rings. But there's also a possibility that it's something more sinister. The bores could be worn. So we'll have a look at that. That's where we're heading. I'm not necessarily going to get the heads off and do that in this video. But that is where that's where the process is heading. I basically want to see what I'm in for here before I commit to anything on the body. If this is okay, the work on the body continues. This basically gets wrapped up, put to one side, and I continue on the body. I'm going to move where you can see me because this is rude. So yeah, if we think the engine's good, then I can move on to the body. But obviously I've got the elephant in the room. Well, it's not an elephant, it's a D Super 5. I've got that D the other day. The new D, no, not new D. Got to stop calling it that. Yeah, I've got that car. So that kind of has to leapfrog this one a little bit because that one is much closer to being roadworthy than this is. And I would quite like to have it on the road. So when I've figured out this is okay, well, not okay, but it's not dead, then yeah, I'll start also having to buy in parts, piston rings, valves, and everything. Of course, because it's a 3-litre one, everything's more expensive. So yes, that's where we're at. Right, I think that made sense, but it probably just came out as a word salad. So I'm going to pick this video up when I start working on that again, which isn't now, because now I am, yeah, it's 7:23. I'm going home to edit a podcast, but yes. Also, I've just got to the very end and discovered that the microphone's been playing up, which is just fantastic. Absolutely wicked. So I'll do what I can with it post-production. Technology. Oh, look.
The next day.
It's not the next day. It is the next day. Right, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, this. An oil filler neck. Remove. Oh, what's that? Oh, of course, it couldn't have a rubber seal, could it? Carbon or crushed aluminium. Obviously. So I've taken that off because I want to take off the inlet manifold. From what I can see, it's only held on with 2 bolts. One of those is buried there, and the other one's on the opposite side, up here. And this one's already loose. Now I've looked in the it's finger tight. I can just undo it. I have undone it with a spanner already. It wasn't just loose. I've looked in the owner's manual. Well, owner's manual, workshop manual. I actually had these. I didn't think I had, but I did have them. But I was sent another copy by Roland in America. Thank you to him. And it says in there to remove the air horns, they call these. Air horns. And this plate. But it's not actually going to win me anything getting to that because it's like there, so I'm not going to bother. I'm hopefully just going to take it all off in one lump. I think it's just those 2 bolts, and then it just presses down onto the heads, maybe with some like O-rings or something, which is a bit of a strange way of doing it, admittedly, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to gently... Oh! Is it really only held on with 2 bolts? Surely that must leak like a sieve. Yeah, it is. It's got these little dowels by the look of it. Well, that's good actually, because it means I can just take the inlet off in one lump with all the carbs on it. I don't want to take that apart yet. I want to keep it all together. So that's what I've had to do. It's this bolt here. I've had to like lift this up. Oh, well, it's out now. I've had to lift this and then unscrew it a bit, lift it and unscrew it a bit, lift it and unscrew it a bit. But ta-da! There's an inlet valve down there and there and there. Oh, that one looks. Oh God, look at that. I don't know if the inlets are sodium filled or not. Not always in cars that have sodium valves. 1. Oh God, look at the state of it. 2. That one's open. 3. So all these guides are going to be absolutely shagged, aren't they? Because I've been turning the engine over by hand. So it's going to need new guides in the head, which is going to be... Well, I might not. You never know. I might get lucky, but I don't think I will. So that's the distributor there. Oh, we are getting to the nitty gritty, aren't we? Look at that. It's actually starting to become quite good looking now. I know I was slagging it off earlier saying it wasn't, but now it's starting to look quite nice. Very nice. Right, so the next thing would be to have a think and a cup of tea. Right, so I've had my cup of tea. I necked it. Look, I've got one of my own mugs. I've necked it, so you didn't have to hear me swallowing. So yeah, I'm a bit... Basically, the next thing I should be doing is taking the heads off, but I don't have the time to do that. If I knew what I was doing, if I'd done it before, I would have the time, but I don't have the time to race into that now. I think I do have the time to take this timing cover off the front. I don't think there's anything else on here that I can see that prevents me from doing that. It looks like the water pump impeller stays in place, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. I might find out in a horrible way, but it looks like there's a ridge in there. Oh no, there's not. Maybe the water pump impeller's got to come off. I'll have to go and Google that. We'll look in the manual. Yeah, otherwise, I think I might try and take this cover off the front. Yeah, the ideal thing would be to take the heads off next, but I want to do that when I've got more time. Because this is all a bit of a rush, and I just haven't had the time to touch this thing at the moment, but I did want to get another video out to fill in where I've been. So that's what this is. I'll find out. Let's go and have a look and see whether this comes off. A bit worried about damaging this because I have read some stuff suggesting that these are delicate. I mean, who knew? Who'd have thought? But yeah, I'll go and have a look and see what's involved in taking this off. And if it is just a case of perhaps just unbolting this and then taking this housing off, we'll do that now. And then what we'll be able to see then is the chain that runs from this jack shaft, I suppose they call it, down to the crank. So there's a chain here. And you can kind of see the housing that runs through. It's so odd, this engine. It's like nothing else. It's, well, it's like a Marac. But yeah, so this shaft runs through this housing here. So that's now really obvious where that sort of goes. Comes through and then comes out the other end, and that's the shaft that goes across and drives all the stuff that's normally here, across the front of the car. And so that's the, you see the suspension pump and everything at the front of the car. Well, the back of that long line is here. So yeah, you've got a chain going from the crank to that, turns this shaft here, and then this shaft here drives the chains on each head, which are staggered. So that's what does that. And the problem these cars always had was that the people who designed the chains weren't aware that these ones, I think it was the top ones here, were going to be facing sort of torque loadings both ways, because it's got an aircon pump driving off the front of it and a suspension, well, high pressure pump and alternator and everything like that. So yeah, basically the tensioners and the chains just went up to the job. I think now all the stuff you can buy from now is largely sorted. I mean, Christ, these things have been around since 1970, so you'd think people have sorted it out. But I suspect they've probably still only got like a 20 or 30,000 mile interval before it's all got to come apart again. But I doubt I'll even ever do 30,000 miles on that car. So yeah, right. Let's go and see if I've got to take this off and see if we can get this off. Right, a little bit of research has been concluded. Yes, that has to come off because behind that is a flat surface pretty much. So that has to come off there. So what I need is a screwdriver. Right, so we've got these like little locking tabs here. Be careful with these. One of them's bent up in there. To remember that from when I put it back together again. I hope I watched this video, haven't I? Yeah, I don't like the idea of leaning on this with a socket, but I'm kind of feeling like I don't have any choice. I don't want to use an impact gun on it. Shouldn't be really tight if it's got a locking tab on it. Oh, that's alright. Someone was saying that there is something delicate among this lot, so I don't want to find out the hard way. Oh, this is where the fun's going to start, isn't it? Right, bear with. So, I've been on the SM groups on is it Yahoo? Really, really useful. I think mostly the American owners. And I kind of like that because they're all people who are having to kind of make do a lot more. Like in France, people just throw money at it. It's weird. It's all like the opposite way around to what you think it is. But in France, they just throw money at it at a specialist. In America, there are no specialists, apart from Jerry Hathaway. And he's not with us anymore. So they seem to do it themselves. And I've done a bit of research there. There are some French guys as well who offer their expertise on there. So it was a good group, very good group. I've used that more than any other so far. And the thing I read is that there are two types of impeller. The brass one, which looks like that's what I've got here, and the alloy one. And what a guy did, one guy said, because everyone's saying they've got this problem, one guy said, I just pulled it off gently with 2 pairs of pliers, which I don't like the idea of doing, but he said if you pull it evenly, it just comes off. I'm not convinced it will. I mean, I will very gently try it. No. And then another guy said he heated it up. And then the third guy said, well, if it was an alloy one, it'd be in bits by now. You'd just break it. But if it's a brass one, you could try heating it up. So, oh dear, that's not a good sign. Mastic. Seal it. Oh no. Right, so I'm going to make it hot. I'll make me hot first, because it's freezing. It's got a cotter pin as well. Be careful not to lose that. Of course, it's on the bottom at the moment, so it will fall out. Ooh. Ah, I very nearly dropped it, and I haven't dropped the cotter pin. Oh, it's as sexy on the back as it is on the front. I'll tell you what, if this is knackered and I have to buy another one, I'm keeping that. Oh, and I've managed to completely ruin the seal here. I think I was probably going to change that anyway. So. Cotter pin. Okay. We're cooking. God, that's in good condition. Right, we're cooking on gas. Oh no, I hope all my bolts that are on this car that hasn't run for a long time come undone and don't give me any jeopardy. Oh. What about this one? Oh. Will the bolts come undone? The whole project hangs in the balance. Oh. Nope. Nope. Why has it got 3 bolts next to each other? Nope. One snap bolt could mean disaster. Oh. That's not. Tell you what, right? Go and watch Hubnut. I don't know if you've heard of Hubnut. Ian did a video a while back, quite a long time ago actually, where he took the piss out of car TV programs. Like doing that kind of like interview format. Oh, it could all go terribly wrong, and then it doesn't. Yeah, I can't remember how long ago he did it. He'll write it in the comments. If he watches this video, which I reckon he probably will, he'll put it in the comments. So go and have a look in the comments and see if he's linked to that video yet. But yeah, it was funny. Right, so that's all that undone. And then you've got 2 more across the top, which are naturally inaccessible because SM. Marquis du Sade. So yeah, we'll get this cover off and we'll have a look and see what the chain's like inside. Well, it's still on there, I can guarantee you that. And then, yeah, have a look and see what's in here. And then, yeah, really, we're getting near the point of taking the heads off. I might see if I can have, for the end of this video, I might just flip it over in a minute. I can't flip it over fully because I still haven't sorted out those studs that hold the engine to the stand, but I was thinking I might just flip it over and pull off a big end cap just to satisfy my curiosity. Why are 3 bolts so close together each side? I'm like assuming that only one of them is timing cover related. This is going to start dropping coolant, isn't it? Oh, look at it! I'm going to reuse it. Look at that! That's got no right looking that good. I mean, I would say that I've seen this with DS's and things, and like some of the other fixings that I took out the SM when I was taking it apart. The quality of the fixings was brilliant, but I mean, that one's poked out the other end. But yeah, the quality of the fixings was brilliant. Of course, this isn't a Citroen engine, this is an Italian engine. Mind you, Maserati were kind of known for engines, weren't they? So you'd think they use good quality materials. I think they probably did. Alright, I'll take out. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's a drain plug for the head. That's actually quite a good idea, that. It's disguised as a timing cover bolt. Keep people on their toes, I like the thinking. Look, capillary action. Put the bolt in. Leaks more. Physics. See, although you think like, oh, you could be just reading the manual and finding this stuff out, and it's like, yeah, you can, but you do learn more when you do it like this, I think. Because you're discovering as you go, which means you're more likely to remember it. Oh. Some more of the shit up coolant. Hopefully I can find out what this stuff is one day. No, it's not waterless. I just suddenly thought, hang on, is it waterless? That would explain. No, it's not. It can't be. Alright, so now how many are holding this bad boy on? That one and this one. In awesome condition again. So if I just pop that back in there, and will this one do it? Yes, it will. Oh, no, no. On the bolts. Right, I'm going to get some gloves on because that is grubby. Oh. Wow. Ah, that's the oil pump thing everyone's talking about. What the hell do I do with this? That's the oil pump driver. What is tiny? No. No, that is ridiculous. That's it. That is the oil pump drive. basically, if that packs up, if this slips its splines or something, you have no oil pump. That's mental. Come on. That's how big that is. Where's... Right, let me get in. This is an M8 bolt. Okay? Or for our American friends, that is about 1,256th of a school bus. Look at that. That is bonkers. And what I've read is that where this floats, because there's splines in there, I can see them, and where this floats, if it basically the splines don't fully engage, they kind of overlap slightly. And the way to fix it short term, well, which people actually end up using as long term, is to stick an O-ring behind it, either on the pump side or the pulley side, I'm not sure. You stick an O-ring behind it, which pushes it out a bit more to get the splines to fully engage, but will compress if it needs to, if it gets hot. And apparently that is the recognised fix, but this is the chain tensioner, which I was told would be in pieces in the sump. Oh, look at that, it's not. Sprung loaded though. Apparently you can fit hydraulic ones from a DX, but you have to obviously drill bits of the block to get oil feeds to power it. Oh man, I am so far out of my comfort zone. This is a far cry from a TU 8 valve with a cam belt. And that's the timing cover down there. So that pump drive, this spindly little thing here, which all of the oil pressure of the engine is that. Come on, that's crap, isn't it? That's not very good. Is that designed to snap or something? I can't think why it would. Why would they make it that? Yeah, why would it be that small? So that engages into there. So I think what people do is they say to just stick a rubber O-ring down at the bottom there. I think that's what they suggest doing, and then it keeps, I'm guessing by the look of it, it keeps this sort of pushed back in and doesn't allow it to walk out. But it doesn't feel like it wants to walk out anyway. Wow, right, okay, so yeah, I told you this would be a slow process. You can see that at 90 degrees. Yeah? 90 degree engine. Right, so I've just flipped it over as far as the studding will allow me. And I was going to take one of the big ends off and have a look, but the access is not amazing in there, and I think I'd be rushing it, so I apologise, but yeah, not going to get that done today. So really this video has been mostly a catch up and a sort of explanation and things, so it's more a vlog than a spannering one, but we've made a bit of progress because, well, that's the engine. There's not a huge amount left to, I mean, there are some big bits to take off, but basically what you would have to do next is remove the heads, which I will do in the next video. We will be taking those off, and then I'm going to have to take it back off the stand, which is annoying, because unless I reposition the I don't know if I fancy it. Basically, like the studs that I'm using here to pick up, I mean, I don't actually like that being on there now that it's got no starter motor on it, but it should be alright. Yeah, basically the bottom halves here, these two, are on this lower portion of the crankcase. This bit's actually visible from the floor underneath the car, but that's got to come off because the crank is sandwiched between this and this. Now I don't necessarily want to take the crank out. That's not my aim. But what I do want to do is take the big ends off, the big end caps, which are these. I mean, I could. I don't know actually. Could I rotate that? Oh, actually, I might be able to get one off. Maybe I can. No, let's do it. Let's do it. Bollocks. What's the worst that could happen? Quite a lot. All right, let's try this. There you go. Right. If this is scored, we're in for a bad time. Are you feeling the tension? This project that you've been kind of part of. Can't get it out. Can't get to it. I've never had to take a big end off before that's wedged in against another one. The machining is so good. I can't even feel the join. It's not wanting to come off. I don't want to stress it. I think it's the oil. I think it's the suction. So I can see it moving. And there's like little bits of you can see like oil expanding and contracting as I do it. There you go. It was the oil. Oh, I'm bloody 50p, 5p here. Right. Come on. Of course, the piston could fall off now as well. I mean, it's good if it doesn't want to let go. Alright, we're there. I didn't touch it. Hang on, the bearing's not in there. Ah! I can't do this. I've just realised I didn't mark which way out I took it. God, I should have stopped, shouldn't I? There's a number there. I think the numbers match. Got a light here? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen the numbers matching. So I think it went on this way. I'll double check that against the other ones. Right, so the bearing is still on here. So this is all going to be taken apart and cleaned up and whatnot. Come on. Oh, there goes the piston. Bye. Right. Oh. Oh, it's lovely. I've got to be honest, when I picked up the big end and thought that was the bearing, I was a little bit like, oh no, I don't like the look of that. But it felt nice, but... Oh, that's mint! I mean, it only means, well, the good thing about this being an engine that is odd, literally it's odd fire, is that these two pistons and these two pistons and the two that are hidden behind here all share a big end. So if this bearing is okay, that likely means that this one's okay, because it's the same journal. So I'm hoping it's going to be a similar situation in there, but I'm not going to go taking it apart. We'll wait for that, because it's getting on. But Oh, the bearing's okay. Basically, if the crankshaft's okay, if these bearings are all as good as that, and that is beautiful. That's in really good condition, that. It's not, there's nothing on it. If that bearing checks out and all the others are the same, then the only issues left are the bores, the pistons in the bores. And that might just be gummed up piston rings, causing a slight lack of compression. So there is a chance that when my boroscope thing turns up, which it will, when I order it, micro bore gauge, or whatever it is, when I get one of them, and I measure the bores, if I find that they're not abnormally worn, these nuts aren't symmetrical. Why are they? One is bigger than the, one's got a bigger shank on it than the other by like 0.5 millimetre. It's fine. Yeah, when I take the heads off, measure the bores, if the bores are okay, if they're not worn unevenly, if they're within spec, if I can find out what the spec is, if they're within spec, it might just be new piston rings. I mean, that bearing can go again. That's that good. So, we'll see. That's another reason why I'm not taking anything else apart yet. I want to start having boxes out so I can put things in and label them where they came from. So that'll do. That'll wrap it up for now. Yeah, I'm going to go and lay down. Cheers for watching. Thank you. And the next video, we'll be taking the heads off. And it might be one bumper video where we just take the heads off and then take this off and just pull the bottom end out and have a look and see just how bad it is. Or it might be split across 2 more. But within 2 more videos, we're going to know how bad this is. Or not, if I'm very lucky. So, yeah, I'm going to look at it, seriously!